It was a late afternoon when Sandra Bullock pulled into a small, quiet gas station just outside of Los Angeles. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue across the sky, and Sandra, after a long day on set, was eager to fill up her car and get home. She had been on the road for hours, and all she wanted was some peace and quiet. The gas station was mostly empty, save for a couple of cars and a group of bikers standing around near the pumps. They were laughing loudly and making jokes, their motorcycles parked haphazardly around the station. Sandra, ever the private person, tried to ignore them as she stepped out of her car and began filling the tank. She could hear the bikers making rude comments in the background, their voices echoing across the small station. At first, she didn't pay much attention to them, focusing on the task at hand.
Subscribe to
But
my
soon,
channel.
the comments became more pointed, and she couldn't help but overhear. "Hey, isn't that Sandra Bullock?" one of the bikers said, his voice dripping with mockery. The others chuckled, clearly enjoying the chance to make fun of a celebrity. Sandra kept her back turned, hoping that if she didn't engage, they'd eventually lose interest. But they didn't. "Oh, look, it's the pretty girl from the movies," another biker added. "What's she doing here? Did she run out of gas on her way to the Oscars or something?" Sandra's grip tightened around the nozzle, her patience wearing thin. She had dealt with paparazzi and rude fans for years, but this felt different. These men were being outright disrespectful. She wanted to ignore them and finish her gas fill-up, but something about their laughter felt so harsh, so invasive. The bikers, sensing that Sandra was uncomfortable, began to get bolder. They crowded around her, making increasingly inappropriate comments. One of them leaned in too close, saying, "Hey, Sandra, how about a photo? You know, for old time's sake." Sandra stepped back, visibly uncomfortable. "I'm just trying to get some gas," she replied, trying to stay calm and not let their taunts get under her skin. But the group wasn't letting up. One of the bikers, clearly the leader of the group, walked even closer, grinning. "Come on, we're not going to bite," he said sarcastically, "we just wanted to say hi. You don't look so glamorous out here at the gas station. You're just like us now, huh?" Sandra felt a wave of frustration. She was used to being recognized in public, but this was different. This wasn't just a photo op request, these men were trying to demean her, trying to make her feel small. She tried to ignore them, focusing on the task of finishing up her gas, but the bikers weren't done yet. As Sandra reached into her purse to grab her wallet, the leader of the group made a final attempt to embarrass her. "I bet you don't even remember the last time you pumped your own gas," he sneered. "You probably have someone do this for you." Sandra's cheeks flushed, and for a brief moment, she considered leaving the station and driving off without filling the tank. But she knew that would only encourage their
Subscribe
behavior.
to my channel.
She wasn't about to let them get away with this. Just as she was about to say something, the sound of motorcycles revving filled the air. Sandra turned her head toward the source of the noise, expecting to see more bikers pulling in. But instead, her eyes widened when she saw Clint Eastwood's signature black SUV pulling up to the station. Clint, ever the icon, stepped out of the car, wearing his usual calm, collected expression. He was wearing a simple leather jacket and jeans, but there was no mistaking the presence he exuded. The bikers immediately froze, their attitude shifting the moment they saw the Hollywood legend. Clint Eastwood didn't need to say a word, his reputation spoke for itself. The group, who had moments ago been so confident in their insults, now seemed unsure of themselves. They exchanged glances, recognizing the man they had no business messing with. Clint glanced at Sandra, his eyes quickly assessing the situation. He had seen enough. With a cool but purposeful stride, he approached the group of bikers, who immediately stepped back, instinctively recognizing the weight of his presence. Sandra stood behind them, a slight sigh of relief escaping her lips. She hadn't expected Clint to be there, but his arrival felt like a blessing. "Is there a problem here?" Clint asked, his voice low but firm. The bikers, caught off guard, stammered, unable to respond. They had just been mocking Sandra, but now, standing face to face with Clint Eastwood, they realized they were in way over their heads. The leader of the group, a large man with tattoos covering his arms, tried to maintain his bravado. "No problem, man, just having some fun," he said, trying to brush it off, but Clint wasn't buying it. "I don't think Sandra finds it funny," Clint replied, his gaze unwavering. "I suggest you apologize and leave her be. You've made your point." For a moment, the bikers hesitated, not sure how to react. They weren't used to being confronted by someone like Clint Eastwood, someone who didn't back down. The leader cleared his throat and mumbled an apology, although it was clear he wasn't sincere. Clint didn't care about the apology. He turned to Sandra and gave her a small nod, offering her a reassuring smile. "You okay?" he asked. Sandra nodded, a look of gratitude in her eyes. "Yeah, I'm fine now. Thank you," she said, her voice softer than before. Clint nodded again, as if his role here was done. But before he turned to leave, he made sure to give the group one last piece of advice. "I don't care how tough you think you are. Treat people with respect," he said, his voice sharp. "If you don't, someone like me will be watching, and you won't like the consequences." As Clint and Sandra stood there, the noise of the motorcycles fading in the distance, the atmosphere seemed to shift. What had started as an uncomfortable and potentially dangerous encounter for Sandra had turned into a moment of relief, thanks to Clint's intervention. Sandra felt a weight lift off her shoulders, grateful that Clint had been there to stand up for her when no one else had. Clint, always the gentleman, didn't make a big deal out of the incident. He was simply doing what he thought was right. "It's never okay to treat anyone that way," he said quietly. "No matter who they are." Sandra gave him a soft smile. "I guess I'm lucky you were here," she said. Clint gave a small chuckle. "Luck had nothing to do with it," he replied. "Sometimes, people just need to be reminded that respect goes both ways." As Clint left the gas station, Sandra couldn't help but feel grateful. She was used to the glare of the spotlight, but she wasn't used to people treating her with such disregard. With Clint's help, she had learned that standing up for yourself doesn't always require confrontation. It can sometimes be as simple as someone offering their support when you need it the most. So, what do you think? Have you ever experienced a situation where someone stepped in just when you needed them the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories like this.